Good afternoon from the National Weather Service office in Lake Charles, Louisiana. I'm meteorologist Donald Jones with your 4 p.m. update on the potential severe weather threat that we're expecting to see across the region tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. It's been a little while since we've done one of these, but we are looking at a significant severe weather threat. So we want to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the long duration cold snap that we're expecting to develop across the region behind the cold front that's going to bring us the severe weather threat. So we're going to talk about that as well. And it's going to get cold around here for quite a while. Not ridiculously cold. We're not talking, the type of cold we saw in like 2021 or anything like that. Still, it is going to be pipe busting cold. So we definitely want to make sure we take precautions to protect the 4 Ps, the people, plants, pets, and pipes. For that upcoming cold. And now's a good time to do it because tomorrow is going to get a little dicey with that severe weather threat. So you got a few hours left still of daylight. Get out there, get those pipes wrapped if you can, because by tomorrow night, it'll be getting very, very cold out there. Just checking here, make sure that all of our audio and video, and looks like we got comments coming in. So everything is good. Let's go ahead and jump into our briefing here. As always, this is a live interactive briefing. So if you have any questions as we go through our briefing, feel free to post them in our comments section, and we'll be happy to answer them just as soon as we wrap up our briefing. We're on Facebook, X, and YouTube this evening, so lots of ways to watch our briefing here this evening. Again, we are looking at the possibility of some severe weather here as we go into tomorrow afternoon and into tomorrow evening. Looking at the severe weather outlook from the Storm Prediction Center, let me go ahead and make this full screen for you to take a little bit closer look at it. And we are looking at a large-scale slight risk. So that's a Category 2 out of 5 on the Storm Prediction Center severe weather scale. Parts of northern Rapides and Avoyelles parishes are highlighted in that orange. That's a Category 3 out of 5. That's an enhanced risk. So that's a higher overall risk. And you can see that orange kind of continues off into parts of northeast Louisiana and western Mississippi. That area is at a little bit higher risk of severe weather. Nonetheless, we are still looking at a risk of severe weather here across our entire region, and all forms of severe weather are going to be possible. So tornadoes, damaging winds, and large hail will all be possible tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow evening. Generally, when we're talking about what we're essentially going to have happen here is a squall line. And if you've been in here for any length of time, you're familiar with squall lines with these cold fronts. And oftentimes, right along that leading edge, we get these very strong winds. And that's what we're expecting to happen here tomorrow, those damaging winds of 60 miles an hour or greater. And then embedded within that squall line will be the possibility of those quick spin-up tornadoes. We could also be looking at some large hail. I don't think the overall risk of large hail is as high as the other threats. I think the damaging winds and the potential for tornadoes are going to be the higher overall risks with this system. Let me go ahead and we can actually talk specifically about the probabilities of those risks here. So here are the look at the probabilities of seeing a tornado tomorrow afternoon and to tomorrow evening. So you can see the areas highlighted in brown. That's a large majority of the region along and north of the I-10 corridor in that 5 to 10% chance of seeing a tornado within 25 miles of any given location. Now, what I mean by that is, for example, if you're here in the Lake Charles area, there is a 5 to 9% chance, or we'll round it up, just say 5 to 10% chance of seeing a tornado within 25 miles of Lake Charles. And that's the case pretty much everywhere across the region that's highlighted in the brown area, which is everywhere away from the immediate coastline. So southern Jefferson County, Cameron Parish, Vermilion Parish, Iberia, St. Martin, St. Mary, you're at a little bit lower overall risk for tornado, only about a 2 to 4% chance. But if you're north of that, which is the majority of the rest of the region, we're looking at a roughly 5 to 10% chance of seeing a tornado. The higher and the highest risk with this system is going to be the potential for those damaging straight line winds. And we're looking at anywhere between a 15 to 30% chance of seeing damaging winds within 25 miles of any given location in the areas highlighted in yellow, which again is pretty much everywhere away from the immediate coastline. And you can see up near the Alexandria area, northern parts of Avoyelles Parish, just north of Marksville, you're actually at an even higher risk. So we're looking at a 30 to 45% chance of seeing damaging winds up that way. The general trend, as is often the case with these kind of systems, the further north you go, the higher the overall risk is going to be. So central Louisiana, interior parts of southeast Texas, you're in a little bit higher overall risk than areas further to the south. But we're still looking at the highest probability for severe weather is going to come in the form of damaging winds. And then in terms of the threat for large hail, we're looking at a 5 to 15% chance of seeing large hail, which is quarter size or larger. That's how we define large hail. A 5 to 15% chance of seeing large hail within 25 miles of any given location as well. And the vast majority of this, as we talked about, is going to be within that squall line. Now, in addition to the severe weather threat, we're also looking at a low-end chance for some minor street flooding. And we're not looking at a whole lot in the way of rainfall totals with this system. The big concern is going to be the very heavy rainfall. It's not going to last very long, but it's going to be very heavy when it does fall. So if we see a situation where a lot of areas are picking up a quick ½ inch to an inch, maybe even an inch and a half, over a 30, 45 minute, maybe to an hour period of time, that's not enough time for the water to fall and run off area roadways. So we could be looking at some brief street flooding. The good news with that is it tends to not last very long. Once the rain ends, the water gets a chance to run off, usually within an hour or two. The streets then clear and we're okay there after that. I don't expect this to be a concern for a lot of flooding in houses or anything like that. This is mainly going to be a street flooding, a short duration street flooding type of situation. This is a look at the overall forecast rainfall totals. Generally, we're looking at between about a ½ inch to maybe an inch of rainfall altogether across Southeast Texas and Southwest Louisiana, perhaps a little bit lower even across Southeast Texas, between about a quarter to a ½ an inch. So again, we're not looking at very high rainfall totals. It's just going to be the fact that it's going to be very heavy and falling over a short period of time that we have that low-end flash flood risk for tomorrow. Now let's take a look at the timing with regards to that squall line. Again, the vast majority of the severe weather with this system is going to be embedded within that squall line and right along the leading edge of it. Not ruling out the possibility that a few strong storms could form out in front of it, but I think the majority of the activity is going to be within the squall line itself. So this is the time frame which you need to be on highest guard for severe weather as that squall line rolls through. So generally for Southeast Texas, parts of Tyler, Hardin, and northern Jasper counties, between about 1 and 5 p.m. is when we're expecting that squall line to roll through tomorrow. For Jefferson County, Orange County, southern Jasper and southern Newton counties, and then western Cameron, West Calcasieu, Beauregard, Vernon, and Rapides parishes, the areas highlighted in that kind of lime green, the light green there, between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. is when we're expecting the squall line to roll through those areas. For the kind of the dark green, just to the east of that, that's East Cameron, Jeff Davis, Allen, Evangeline, Avoyelles, and Acadia parishes. We're going to be looking at the squall line moving through between about 6 and 9 p.m. tomorrow evening. So that's going to be after sunset, unfortunately. So we're going to be dealing with this most likely in the dark for those areas. For Vermilion, Lafayette, and St. Landry parishes, between about 7 and 10 p.m. And for St. Martin, Iberia, and St. Mary parishes, between about 8 p.m. and midnight. So this is going to be a late evening event for portions of Acadiana, South Central Louisiana. But it's not going to be an all-night event. So I don't think it's going to go too far into early Monday morning. So hopefully the vast majority of this pans out well and it's out of here by about midnight, so we don't have to stay up all night keeping an eye on this. So that kind of gives you an idea with regards to what we're expecting in terms of the timing of that squall line and the severe weather threat going through tomorrow. Now, once that cold front moves through, we're going to be looking at a significant cool down. It's not going to be something that's going to be delayed too much. We're going to be looking at that air mass is going to be pushing in right behind that squall line, and it's going to be breezy when it does so. We're going to be looking at wind gusts 20, perhaps up to 30 miles an hour, and that very strong wind is going to blow in this much cooler air mass. So we're going to be looking at very quickly dropping temperatures behind that. Now, I've been getting a few questions this afternoon about ice on roads. If the roads are still wet and that cold air is blowing in, is it going to be a problem for icy roads? I don't think that's going to be a concern, and here's why. We've been very warm the last several days, really the last week or so, so that asphalt is pretty warm. And it takes time for that asphalt to cool off. It doesn't cool off nearly as fast as the air temperature. So while the air temperature may be freezing or below freezing, the asphalt underneath that water is still going to be well above freezing. So the water, any water that's still on roads, is not going to freeze to that asphalt until it actually reaches freezing, which is not going to happen while the water is still on the road. So I don't expect there to be any kind of ice on roads from the rain and the squall line. That's not going to be an issue. What is going to be a bigger issue, though, is the very rapid fall in temperatures, and we're going to be looking at several days of very cold temperatures. I realize this graphic has a whole lot of numbers on it here, but essentially we're looking at, these are our Southeast Texas cities, and the expected low temperatures, the expected temperatures as we go through the next few days. This is every 3 hours we're showing a temperature here. So you can see essentially from midnight to 9 a.m. early Monday morning, we'll be looking at those temperatures dropping back into the 20s, climbing into right around 40 degrees maybe during the afternoon, and then quickly falling back below freezing again shortly after sunset Monday evening, continuing all the way until right around noontime on Tuesday. Then again, we're going to get back up above freezing, get up to maybe about 40 or so degrees for a few hours, then quickly fall back down again for Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Same thing Wednesday night into Thursday morning. I think by Thursday night into Friday morning, we may stay above freezing or just be right at freezing. It's still going to be cold, certainly. But I think the freezing threat may come to an end by that point. But we're looking at least 4 nights of freezing, potentially hard freezing conditions across the area. And I'm showing you Southeast Texas right now. I'm going to switch over and show you Central and Southwest Louisiana. And if you want to look at these graphics in more detail, you can always pause the briefing here, but I'll also have these posted on our social media pages after our briefing is concluded, so you can look at it in more detail that way. But essentially pretty much looking at the same thing for our Central Louisiana and Southwest Louisiana parishes and cities. Of course, the further north you go across Central Louisiana, the lower the overall temperatures are going to be. So we're looking at mid to upper 20s up towards the Alexandria, Leesville area, over towards Marksville. A little bit higher along the I-10 corridor. You can see Lake Charles, Lake Arthur there. Still getting below freezing, but not necessarily into the low to mid 20s that we're going to see further north. We're looking at more like lower 30s, maybe upper 20s for those areas. And again, it's going to be the same kind of thing. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday mornings are all going to be quite cold and below freezing for all of those. So here are our forecast morning lows. This is Monday morning. This is the actual expected lows. You can see mid to upper 20s across Central Louisiana and interior parts of Southeast Texas. Upper 20s to lower 30s right along the I-10 corridor, and just above freezing all the way down right to the coast at Cameron, 33, 32, and kind of the same thing all across right along the coastline there. Going into Tuesday morning, we're going to be even colder. So we're going to be looking at mid-20s across Central Louisiana and interior parts of Southeast Texas. Upper 20s for the I-10 corridor, and right around freezing right along the immediate coastline. For Wednesday morning, same thing, mid-20s across Central Louisiana and interior Southeast Texas. Upper 20s along the I-10 corridor, and right around freezing or just above right along the immediate coastline. Very similar for Thursday morning, maybe a couple of degrees either way, but not a whole lot different. Still looking at mid-20s, Central Louisiana, interior Southeast Texas, right around freezing to maybe 28, 29 along the I-10 corridor, and probably be a little bit above freezing right along the immediate coastline Thursday morning. Now, as I mentioned, once the cold front moves through, we're going to be looking at some significant wind gusts developing behind that. So we're going to be looking at wind gusts 20, 30 miles an hour. When we take that much cooler air that's going to be rolling into the area, add the wind gusts on top of it, we get that wind chill factor. So the wind chill, once we add that in, is going to be significantly cooler. You can see these are our wind gusts for our Southeast Texas cities. You can see as we go through, sorry about that. As we go through Monday morning, we're looking at wind gusts 20, 25 miles an hour. And then even as we go into Monday night and Tuesday, you can still see we're looking at wind gusts anywhere between about 10 to 15 miles an hour. And Wednesday also still looking at wind gusts 10 to 15 miles an hour. So we're still going to be looking at winds and wind chill factors pretty much at least Monday morning, Tuesday morning, and Wednesday morning. And we're going to have to account for that with these wind chill factors. So same thing for Southwest Louisiana, Central Louisiana. You can see those numbers with gusts as high as 30 miles per hour. The highest overall gusts are going to be late Sunday night into Monday morning, right after that cold front moves through. But we're still going to be looking at 15-ish mile an hour wind gusts Tuesday morning and Wednesday morning as well. Now, once we add that in, we can account for the temperatures and the wind speeds. These are the wind chills we're looking at. So for Central Louisiana and Southwest Louisiana, you can see we're looking at teens across most of the area for early Monday morning, late Sunday night into early Monday morning. This is right behind the cold front. We're still going to be looking at those wind chill values in the teens. Now, it's important to keep in mind when we're talking about wind chill values, this has no effect at all on plants, and it has no effect at all on pipes. This is strictly a human skin phenomenon, and potentially pets also. If you have a pet that has very thin fur, or if you have a bald cat, or they do have those hairless cats or something there. I'm not going to get into it. Anyway, if your cat or dog doesn't have fur, then they would potentially feel the effects of the wind chill factor. But this is primarily an issue for people and the skin and the feels-like effect on people. So this has no effect on how quickly or how thoroughly a pipe will freeze or plants will freeze, anything like that. This is strictly based on how the air actually feels on your skin. So we're looking at teens both Monday morning and again right around 20 degrees, maybe upper teens for Tuesday morning. Wednesday morning, we got a couple of teens in there, but generally lower 20s. So still going to feel very, very cold out there for really at least that 3-day period. And I'll probably go into Thursday as well, although winds will come down somewhat on Thursday. So while it still will be cold, the wind chill factor won't be quite as big of an issue. For Southeast Texas, you can see interior parts of Southeast Texas, mid-teens, 14, right around sunrise for Jasper and Newton. And then generally between about 14 and 20 or thereabouts across the entire rest of Southeast Texas cities there for Monday morning. Same thing for Tuesday morning, and same thing again for Wednesday morning. Again, by Thursday morning, it'll still be cold, but the winds will come down somewhat, so the wind chill factor won't be quite as big of an issue. These are our forecast lowest wind chill values. So this is Sunday night into Monday morning. We're generally looking at teens across a large part of the region. North of the I-10 corridor, right along the I-10 corridor will be 20 to 25 or thereabout. Same thing down along the immediate coastline. For Monday night into Tuesday morning, again, we're going to be looking at temperatures 20, possibly some upper teens across interior Southeast Texas and central Louisiana, 20 to 25 along the I-10 corridor, and same thing right along the immediate coastline. Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, pretty much the exact same thing. Still looking at lower 20s across the entire area, maybe mid-20s right along the immediate coastline. And then Wednesday night into Thursday morning, you can see those numbers come up a little bit because those winds are expected to come down by Wednesday night into Thursday. So it's still going to be cold, certainly, but the wind chill will not be as big of a factor because the winds won't be blowing as strong. Now let's talk a little bit about the amount of time that we're actually expected to be below freezing. So this is what we have to be concerned with when we're talking about pipes and the potential for freezing pipes. In general, we have to be below freezing for roughly about 6 hours before pipes start to be significantly impacted. And unfortunately, we are going to be looking at that across a large part of the area. So this is going to be pipe busting weather going into next week. You can see this is Sunday night into Monday morning. This is how many hours we expect to be below freezing. You can see central Louisiana between about 3 and 6 hours expected to be below freezing. Same thing for interior Southeast Texas. You see Jasper expected to be below freezing for 7 hours. Along the I-10 corridor for Sunday night into Monday morning, we'll be very close to freezing, but if we get below freezing, it won't be for very long. So I don't expect there to be pipe busting conditions, in Lake Charles or Lafayette for Sunday night into Monday morning. Now, as we get into stop messing up my stuff. Okay, got it back. As we get into Monday night and into Tuesday morning, you can see those numbers get a lot bigger, though. So by Tuesday morning, or by Monday night into Tuesday morning, we're looking at 12 plus hours below freezing for central Louisiana, interior parts of Southeast Texas, even as far south as the I-10 corridor. Lake Charles expected to be below freezing from 4 to 6 hours. Same thing over towards Lafayette, down towards Jeanerette, New Iberia, and even back into to Orange or Beaumont. So this Monday night into Tuesday is when we're going to have the potential pipe busting weather all the way down to the I-10 corridor. Now, tomorrow night, I strongly recommend pipe precautions for central Louisiana and Jasper, Newton, over towards Woodville, those areas. By Monday night into Tuesday morning, pretty much everybody needs to be taking pipe precautions. So what I mean by that is pipes need to be either insulated. A lot of pipes are already either underground or inside of houses. So if that's the case, they should be insulated enough that it's not going to be an issue. I'm talking about pipes that are exposed, pipes on the underside of manufactured homes, pipes that go out to wells, pipes that go out to trailers, stuff along those lines where it's actually exposed to the outside air or uninsulated, need to either be wrapped, preferably with insulation, but anything is better than nothing. And then water needs to be allowed to trickle through them through the night as long as the area remains below freezing. That should keep the pipes from freezing entirely. This is Monday night into Tuesday morning. Going into Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, you're looking at pretty much the exact same thing. Again, 12 plus hours below freezing for the Alexandria area and central Louisiana, between about 7 and 9 for interior parts of Southeast Texas, anywhere between about 2 and up to 7 along the I-10 corridor. And that is certainly going to be long enough to for pipes to freeze. So same thing Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. And then again, For Wednesday night into Thursday morning, at least for central Louisiana and interior southeast Texas, we're still looking at 9 to 11 hours below freezing. You can see that freezing line lifts a little bit further to the north by Wednesday night into Thursday morning. So we may not spend too much time below freezing from, say, Beaumont to Lake Charles to Lafayette down towards New Iberia. But areas north of there will spend significant amount of time below freezing. So again, pipe precautions will need to be taken Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Now, by Thursday night into Friday morning, we may still touch freezing very briefly, but I don't think we're going to, any area across our region is going to spend a significant amount of time below freezing. So that'll kind of be the end of our, at least the worst of our cold snap that we're having. So pipes can then be uninsulated if the spirit so moves you. But at least you won't have to run water through them anymore at that point, Thursday night into Friday morning, based on what we're seeing right now. So that's what we have here this afternoon from the National Weather Service. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in our comment section. I'll be happy to answer them here over the next little while, either on the cold weather or the potential severe weather that's expected to come through tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. Let me go ahead and back up through some of my questions here. If you posted a question at the beginning, I may not see it, so I'll throw it back in there again. I'll be happy to answer it for you. Dane asked, well, where did Dane go? Dane was here. Let's see if I can find Dane again. There's Dane. Work. Okay. Will Southwest Louisiana or Southeast Texas have snow or ice? Will we have a winter storm? No, we're not expecting snow, ice. We're not expecting freezing rain. We're not expecting sleet. We're not expecting any of that because all of the rainfall should be out of here before that really cold air moves through. It's going to be coming in quickly behind that squall line, but it's going to stay behind the squall line. So I don't expect any kind of winter precip. And certainly, I mean, I can't rule out maybe a couple of flakes here and there, but it'll be very, very novel, and novel is to say rare, and we're not expecting any kind of accumulations or anything like that. So no, we're not expecting a winter storm. We're not expecting any kind of a significant winter weather. If you see a snowflake out there, consider yourself very lucky, but I think that that's very, very unlikely. Daniel says, so not long enough of a freeze in Lake Charles to worry about pipes. You will have to worry about pipes. Let me go ahead and come back to the full screen here, and we're going to talk about a little bit more. Again, the timing for Sunday night into Monday morning in Lake Charles specifically, probably not. Now, if you're in, further north up towards Alexandria, Leesville, DeRidder, Fort Johnson, those areas, Jasper, Newton, Woodville, even in through Hardin County, yes, you will have to take pipe precautions. Lake Charles specifically, over towards Lafayette, down towards New Iberia, probably not. Now, once we get into Monday night into Tuesday morning, then yes, I would say the entire area needs to be taking pipe precautions. Monday night into Tuesday morning, same thing, Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. And then as we get into Wednesday night into Thursday morning, still for central Louisiana and interior southeast Texas, so Jasper, Newton, Woodville, those areas, maybe not so much Lake Charles for Wednesday night into Thursday morning, but definitely Monday night into Tuesday and Tuesday night into Wednesday, because we're going to be looking at significant amounts of time below freezing both of those days. Brittany asked, do you think the bridges in Lake Charles will be okay to travel over, not trying to get trapped on an icy bridge again? I don't think icy bridges are going to be a problem in this instance, because again, the asphalt is pretty warm. Now, bridges are going to cool off faster than regular roadways because they're elevated. They have access to the wind. The wind's blowing that colder air up and down and all around it, so it cools off faster. Still, I think that the bridges are going to dry out before we get to that critical temperature where we start seeing ice on bridges. So no, I don't expect that to be a problem with this particular scenario. Tiffany is wondering if schools will close. It's pretty unlikely. Again, that's far from my decision to make. We are going to be looking at some very gusty winds, certainly, but we're not expecting winter weather. We're not expecting snow. We're not expecting sleet. We're not expecting ice. So I would not expect schools to close based on that. Now, if they choose to close because of the gusty winds, that's a potential that'll have to be addressed by the school board and school officials. But generally, I think we're going to be under their critical thresholds for that. Rebecca's asking the same thing. Do you think bridges will be iced over Monday morning? No, I don't, because we're not expecting any kind of freezing rain, sleet, or snow. And I think that the bridges are going to dry out before that those asphalt temperatures reach the point where water would start to freeze on them. So no, I don't expect that to be an issue. John hopes he doesn't freeze his buns off. Wrap your buns. Wrap them tightly in blankets and things and styrofoam and warm toasty buns, and then you'll be fine. Let's see. Paige says, when we're running water through faucets, do we use hot or cold? It doesn't really matter. It's the moving water that matters. So cold would generally probably be better. It's going to save you some on your electricity, because if you're running hot water through your pipes constantly, you're going to drain your hot water heaters. Cold is fine. You don't necessarily have to use hot. It's the movement of the water that keeps the pipes from freezing more so than whatever temperature that water is. Harry asks, how bad will storms be in the DeQuincy area? We are going to be looking at a slight risk. You're in that slight risk area. I'm going to go ahead and pull back to the severe weather graphics here. I'll make that full screen. So DeQuincy, pretty much the entire region with the exception of extreme northern rapides and avoyles is in a slight risk for severe weather. That's a category 2 out of 5. Now, that area I just mentioned, northern rapides and avoyles, is in a higher risk. That's a category 3 out of 5. So generally, as the further north you go, the higher the overall risk is going to be. So yeah, you will be looking at a potential for severe weather within that squall line in the DeQuincy area. Francis asked, when was our first freeze last year? Well, I don't recall off the top of my head. We did freeze back in, I think, November. I don't remember exactly the dates of that, though. I'd have to go look it up. London asked, are there any cold fronts coming down the pipeline that could reinforce this air mass? Not really. This is going to be the big one. There may be a very weak reinforcing frontal boundary kind of midweek, but it's not going to be anything that's going to produce any kind of precip or anything like that. So it's just going to be this air mass. And this air mass is not just affecting us. It's affecting a large part of the central U.S. all the way up, into the kind of the north central plain. So this is a large air mass, and it's just going to kind of stick in place here across the central part of the country for several days. Connie asks, is there a chance of rain on Friday? Yes, there is. We're looking at probably about a 30 to 40% chance of rain on Friday. And this is a big if we were to see any kind of wintry precip, that's when it would be. It would probably be early Friday morning. If that precip works in and we're still below freezing, we could potentially see a little something. That's still 5 days out, so I don't even want to really talk about that all that much at this point. There have been a few computer models that have shown that as a possibility, but we're not ready to bite on that just yet. Elizabeth says, Donald Jones, Liz, hi Liz. Liz is up in Kansas, and she's in the middle of a blizzard warning. I think she told me last time I talked to her. So it could be worse around here. We could be looking at blizzard conditions. It's not going to be blizzard conditions because we don't have the snow or the ice, but we are going to have the winds. We are going to have those 30, 40 mile an hour winds. Amy asks, what time will the squall line hit Shreveport? I don't have exact numbers for Shreveport. We don't cover the Shreveport area. So you may want to send a message to the Weather Service office in Shreveport. They do have their own weather office. Just let me see if I can spitball here, just judging by the graphic that I do have here. Just kind of parsing it out to the northeast, you're probably looking at in this 1 to 5 o'clock time frame. But I'd recommend contacting the Weather Service office in Shreveport. They'll be able to give you much more detailed information on exactly when that's going to move through up that area, up that way. Keith says, so with sunshine in the 40s, I will be able to enjoy a glass of scotch outside in the afternoons. If that's how your idea of a good time, I wouldn't stay out there too long. It's gonna be cold, alcohol or no. It might feel warm, but it ain't gonna be. Kerry asks, how long will severe storms be in the area for Beauregard Parish and the Radley area? Well, the squall line itself it's going to be relatively narrow, so you're probably looking at an hour or less of actual potential severe weather. Again, we talked about here the times that I have behind me here. I'll make that full screen again. But within those times, the actual squall line itself is probably going to last only about an hour or so. So it's not going to be very, very long. Bryson asks, is there going to be severe weather like thunderstorms and possible tornadoes? Yep, that's what we've been talking about along with the cold. So we are looking at the possibility of severe weather. Again, most of the region is in a slight risk with all forms of severe weather possible. Tornadoes, damaging winds, large hail will all be possible. We're looking at roughly about a 5 to 10% chance of seeing a tornado within 25 miles of any given location. For the damaging winds, about a 15 to 30% chance of seeing 60 mile an hour or greater winds, and a 5 to 15% chance of seeing large hail. Again, that's quarter size or larger for the large hail threat. Connie asks, I may have answered this already, is there a significant chance of rain again on Friday? Yeah, we're looking at right now about a 40% chance of rain on Friday. William asked about the possibility of black ice. No, I don't expect black ice. Again, as we talked about, that asphalt is still pretty warm. We've been relatively warm for the last several days, so that tends to warm up the asphalt, especially when we have sunshine on it. So it takes time for that asphalt to cool back off. It doesn't cool off as quickly as the air temperature. So any remaining lingering water that would be on there from that squall line is going to have time to either run off or otherwise dry out before we get below freezing. So I don't expect black ice to be a major issue. Alicia says, Donald for the win. Me, win. Oh, wait, I'm over here. Win. John asks, how cold will my Tootsies get? That is going to depend on how wrapped up your Tootsies are and in what particular material. If they're wrapped up in wool socks, I think you'll be quite toasty. If they're next to a fire, you'll also be toasty. If you're outside drinking scotch with what's-his-face, probably not so much. Trey says, drip hot and cold pipes because hot water is not moving unless you turn it on. As a plumber, he can tell you most calls we get is on hot water bust. That's a good point. I didn't even think about that, Trace. But yeah, so maybe it would be best to drip a little bit out of the cold and out of the hot because they do run through separate pipes. So yeah, you do need to keep them both moving. Thanks for bringing that up, Trace. Chris says, shout out to the black t-shirt from San Antonio. I think I talked to Chris the other day. We were talking about tornadoes. We can't ever talk about sunny skies and beautiful weather. Trace asks, is there a significant risk of power outages tomorrow as the storms push through? I'm not sure about significant, but anywhere we see that those very strong damaging winds, which we're expecting to see some of, will have the potential to have power outages. So we are expecting some 60 mile an hour plus winds. Of course, that's plenty enough to knock tree branches down onto power lines or knock power lines over directly. So I wouldn't say there's going to be an extreme amount of power outages, but yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if some areas do lose power. Of course, I can't tell you exactly where that's going to be. That's going to depend on exactly where that severe weather moves through. But yeah, I would expect to see at least a few power outages tomorrow. Dane asks, how long will the severe weather be here Sunday night? Again, it's not going to be a very thick line. The vast majority of the activity is going to be within that squall line, and I expect that squall line will probably be only wide enough for about an hour's worth of rain. And even then, even within that, the severe weather threat is going to be right along the leading edge of that squall line. The strongest winds are always going to be right along the front of that squall line, right before it blows through, and you'll see that a lot of times with severe storms, or with any storms really. As it's about to blow through, the wind really picks up. You get a lot of what's called outflow from that heavy rain falling within it that hits the ground, and it pushes the air out. So you can get some very strong winds right along that leading edge. But that doesn't take very long to push through. So we're talking maybe 30 minutes or so right along the leading edge. Same thing with the tornadoes. They tend to be on the front side of those squall lines, not necessarily on the trailing edges. So it's usually within the first 10 or 15 minutes or so of that squall line actually arriving. If you're going to see severe weather, that's most likely when you're going to see it. Tasha asks, would travel to DeRidder and Shreveport be safe Thursday around 3 or 4 in the morning? Most likely, I would say yes. I don't think we're expecting any kind of precip. It's certainly going to be cold. I would certainly check back before then, check back Tuesday or Wednesday just to make sure. But I don't think there's going to be any problems with that. It's just going to be cold. Alma asks, can I please repeat the conditions for Thursday? I can pull the graphic up here for Thursday, and we can take a look at it together like a family. Let's see. So this is our forecast low temperatures for Thursday morning. You can see generally mid-20s across central Louisiana and interior southeast Texas, upper 20s to lower 30s across the I-10 corridor, and then between about 30 to 35 right along the immediate coastline. And then when we add in those forecast wind chills for Thursday morning, we're looking at, and again, Thursday morning, we expect those winds to actually die down by that point. So the wind chill factor is not going to be huge. You can see it is a couple of degrees colder, but not a whole lot compared to the actual temperatures. Robert says, so you're saying take the truck and not the Harley to work Monday, right? What I'm saying is, how hard do you think you are? If you're feeling particularly gusto and macho, take the Harley, go for it. I mean, I'm sure you'll turn a lot of heads. You might arrive as a popsicle, but you can do it. If you're more like me and prefer to, not freeze my toes off, I think I'd take the truck. Lee says, isn't it supposed to rain into the evening when the temperature drops to freezing? Will there be a possibility of freezing rain? It is going to rain through when that squall line moves through. We're not expecting any real rain behind that. And the colder weather, the significantly colder air temperature is going to be behind all of that. So no, I don't expect freezing rain with this. All of the rain is going to be over with before the freezing temperatures actually arrive. Kathy asked, what about supercells out in front of the squall line? That is going to be a possibility. It tends to not, we don't usually get a whole lot of those in this part of the world. I expect, there could be a couple. I'll just leave it at that. I don't expect there to be a lot, but there could be a couple. But the vast majority of the severe weather threat is going to be within the squall line itself. I'm looking over here and the camera's over here. Rochelle asked, what temperatures should we expect south of I-10 Saturday afternoon and evening, and winds? So like today or next Saturday? For next Saturday, I don't have that information. We're talking day 7, day 8. I'd have to go. I don't have any graphics for that. It is going to be slightly warmer, but we're still going to be definitely on the cool side for next Saturday. All right, I've reached the bottom of my question list here. So if you have a question, you're first in line. Hurry up. I got a few more minutes here. Then I got to run away. So put him in. Clara says, will it snow in Houston? I don't cover the Houston area, so I can't speak specifically for them, but I don't think so. I haven't seen anything that would lead me to believe there'd be snow in Houston right now. But the Houston area does have their own weather service office. So you can ask them. They'll have more detailed information about that. Dane asks, how long will this cold weather be here? We're going to be looking at it pretty much all of this coming week. So it's going to come in tomorrow night, and it's going to stick around. You can see kind of there all the way through next Friday at least. We're going to get a little bit warmer towards the end of the week. You can see we're only going to touch freezing or maybe stay slightly above freezing Thursday night into Friday morning, but it's still going to be cold, certainly, and that'll linger into next weekend as well. Shadow Gaming Reviews says, will this be like the post-Christmas tornado outbreak or slightly weaker? I don't think it's going to be quite as much as that. Just looking at some of the parameters, they're not quite as impressive as they were for the Christmas event. Oh, let me come back here. And kind of to go along with that, the Storm Prediction Center doesn't have us in nearly as high of a threat level as they did then. So no, I don't expect this to be quite on the same level as that, but I do think that there will be a couple of tornadoes. There will be some damaging winds that'll produce some damage and probably some power outages. But I don't think it's going to be on the same level as what we saw over Christmas. Ashley says, so no chance of any frozen spots on roads with the cold coming. I don't think so. Not at this point. Again, the asphalt should remain warm enough so that any rain that's still on it from the squall line either runs off or dries up before the freezing temperatures get here. And then thereafter, we're not really looking at any rain for the next 4 days or so. So no, I don't think that's going to be an issue. Charlene asks, will we have to worry about pipes? Yes. Yes, you will. And when specifically is going to depend on exactly where you're at. But generally speaking, let me pull up my hours below freezing. So for central Louisiana, interior southeast Texas, those areas we're going to be looking at need to protect pipes and run water Sunday night into Monday morning and pretty much every night this week. For areas along the I-10 corridor, Monday night into Tuesday morning is when we're going to start seeing the threat of freezing pipes. So Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, maybe even Thursday morning, just to be safe, at least 2 nights, if not 3 nights, we're going to have the potential for busted pipes because we're going to be below freezing for an extended duration of time. Amanda asked, are we getting snow next weekend? Not as of right now. We're going to stay cool, and there is going to be some precip in the area. I'm not completely ruling it out, but it's a very low probability right now. Barbara says, don't forget about pets, people. No, don't forget about pets, people. This is certainly going to be cold enough to be not pleasant to be out in, no matter if you're a person or an animal. Definitely want to provide shelter for any pets. And as someone brought up the other day, make sure that they have a source of water that isn't going to freeze too, because dogs and cats and animals can't drink ice. They can chew on it, I suppose, but they can't really drink it. So make sure they have a source of water that's not going to freeze. Tasha asks, what time is the rain going to start tomorrow? That's also going to depend on exactly where you're at. But generally speaking, we're expecting the squall line to move through the region kind of based on the times that we have listed here. Let me get me out of the way so you can see that last one. So 1 to 5 p.m. for up towards Tyler, Jasper, Hardin counties. Between 4 and 8 p.m. for Jefferson, Orange, Southern Jasper, Southern Newton, West Cameron, West Calcasieu, Beauregard, Vernon, and Rapides. Between about 6 and 9 p.m. for East Cameron, Jeff Davis, Allen, Evangeline, Avoyelles, and Acadia. Between about 7 and 10 for Vermilion, Lafayette, and St. Landry. And between about 8 p.m. and midnight for St. Martin, St. Mary, and Iberia parishes. Now, we may see a little bit of rain either before or behind that, but that's where the vast majority, or when the vast majority of the rain is going to be. Tina is asking about what time for the severe weather for Alexandria. Again, this graphic kind of shows it pretty well. Between about 4 and 8 p.m. tomorrow is when we're expecting the highest risk of severe weather. Dane asks, will power go out during this cold weather? We could see some power outages as that squall line rolls through with those potential damaging winds. Once that gets through, though, if you haven't lost power by then, you're probably not going to. You know, power doesn't go out just because it's cold. There has to be something that actually causes it to go out. So, well, I say that, but if there's a lot of power usage, I suppose there could be blackouts as well. But in general, as it relates to weather, if you don't see any power outages by the time the squall line moves through, there's not going to be anything weather related that's going to cause the power outages. Sasha asks, so no rain at all before 4. We have a rescue that is terrified of rain and thunder. I wouldn't say not at all. There is going to be the possibility of some showers and thunderstorms through the early afternoon. The before 4 is going to be for the biggest risk of severe weather. So there could be some scattered showers and thunderstorms ahead of that. So I'm not going to say it's not going to rain at all before then. But that's when the squall line is going to be moving through. Nikki says, respectfully, he can't predict everything. No, you're right, Nikki. I can't predict everything. If I could, I would have predicted the Powerball numbers, and I wouldn't be here talking to you right now. I'd be on a beach somewhere where it's not going to be 20 degrees this week. Scott's asking, will there be a special balloon release tomorrow at 1? I don't know yet. That'll be up to the Storm Prediction Center to decide probably tomorrow if they want to request one. Right now, we're not planning on doing one, but if they want one, we'll do it. Shadow Gaming Review says our local weather service office in Houston isn't doing a live stream. I wonder if it's not as serious here tomorrow. Not necessarily. Not all weather service offices do live streams. So just because they're not doing one doesn't mean that you're not necessarily going to see any kind of significant severe weather. Let me I'll take a quick gander over that way just for you. But don't take the fact that they're not doing a live stream as there's not actually a severe risk, because there very well could be. Let me look here. Graphic. Need to get a pretty graphic, and it's not loading. We're gonna get there. Let me take this and throw it up there. Okay, so you can see here's Houston back this way. You're in a marginal risk of severe weather tomorrow. So the overall risk for the Houston area is going to be lower than it is across our region in Southeast Texas and Southwest Louisiana. But it's not zero. I imagine you're going to be looking at essentially the beginnings of that squall line as that cold front moves through that area. So there is a low end risk of severe weather. Again, I'd recommend sending a Facebook message or giving a ring to the Weather Service office in Houston. They can give you a lot more details with that than I can. It's not because I'm stupid and don't know nothing about Houston, but I've been focusing on our area, and that's what I've been looking at. So that's why I have all the specific details for this area, not necessarily there. But the Houston office will have specific information for their area. All right, not seeing any more questions at the moment, so I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. These graphics will be available on our social media pages as soon as I get off here and can put them up there. So just in the next few minutes. So if you miss something, you can catch the graphical part on there. This recording or this live stream will be available as a recording on Facebook, YouTube, and X just as soon as we get off of the live aspect of it here. So you can always go back to the beginning and watch it again if you missed anything at that point. If you have a question that you think of once we get off of our briefing here, or if you're watching this as a recording, feel free to shoot us a direct message on Facebook. I'll be happy to answer your questions on there. You can also send us a X on X. You can also shoot me an email. My email is on the screen there. It's my name with a dot in the middle, so donald.jones@noaa.gov. Or you can give us a call here at our office. We're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Area code 337-477-5285. And we'll be happy to answer any questions you have that way as well. So lots of ways to get in touch with us. We may or may not do another one of these briefings tomorrow. It's going to depend on our staffing levels and what kind of severe weather we have going on. We may try to do another one, but I don't want to say for sure we will or not and then have to lie to you. So at the very minimum, we will have updates on our social media pages regarding the evolution of the severe weather threat as we go through tomorrow. And then, of course, as we go into all next week, we'll have detailed information about temperatures, wind chills, what you need to do to protect pipes and thereabouts, and what areas need to versus don't. So all of that will be on there as well. In the meantime, everyone have a wonderful rest of your day. Now would be a good time to, well, I mean, it's getting ready to get dark, but you could also do it tomorrow morning. If you want to insulate pipes, protect pipes, you still have a little bit of time to do it, or tonight. It's not going to be freezing tonight. You can step outside in the dark and do it. But by tomorrow evening, we'll be looking at that severe weather threat. And then right behind that, it's going to get very cold. So that's going to be, you're going to be out of time by that point. So if you have pipes you need to insulate today, tonight, tomorrow morning, that's going to be the time to do it. Everyone have a wonderful rest of your evening. Stay safe, stay dry, stay warm, And we'll talk to you again maybe tomorrow. We'll see. If not, we'll talk to you again soon.